What is up, everybody? Welcome to the channel once again. Glad to see you. Today, we're going to talk about AT&T and why I love investing in AT&T. With that being said, guys, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy on the internet with some opinions. This is in no way financial advice. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's obvious by now. I think you guys should expect it. With that being said, guys, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Help me out with that YouTube algorithm. Hit the notification bell. Don't forget to share this video with your friends. Enough of all that. Let's get into it. So, Seeking Alpha. Love the site. Great site to look at. If you're bored, check out their news articles. Very cool. We're going to talk about the AT&T dividend and why it's stable and why I continue to just buy AT&T on a weekly basis. I mean, it's pretty much a thing that I expect myself to do every week. It's kind of like I've gotten to the point where I do it so much that it just feels like I have to do it. It's almost like a chore now. But let's check out Stephen Fiorillo. I'm probably butchering the hell out of that name, but let's check out this article and look at the summary, right? So you don't need AT&T to appreciate much in share value for this. The dividend fluctuates between 5 and 7.5%, and they can still print money. So here's the thing, guys. AT&T is not a growth company at all. If you own them, you know this. What they are, though, is they are a really, 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 really good dividend company. I mean, you can take their interest rate from their dividend and just compound the crap out of it. I mean, look at this. You're basically saying you're going to get 5 to 7.5% return on your money. And this is yearly, right? Like, this is their annual dividend rate. So, you know, if you told me for every $100 I put in AT&T, I'm getting $7.50 minimum back on it, I mean, you know, that really it starts to add up after a while, you know what I mean? And then, of course, every time you get that money, you just keep adding it in, and so on and so forth, right? So that's, I mean, that to me is not bad at all. We're going to talk about their free cash flow. They generated $8.3 billion in free cash flow, you know, which is pretty damn good. And they had $42 billion in revenue, which is really good. And pretty much HBO is killing it, guys. Like, they've doubled their HBO subscriptions in the last couple of months. I think since May, ironically. I'll have to double check on that, but I'm pretty safe. I'm pretty safe on the dividend here as well. But yeah, HBO has been killing it. So their dividend's pretty safe. Debt's under control. And his quote is, he believes it's a broken stock, but not a broken company. The financials are great, right? Like, financials are just fine. And I think it's just people's belief in AT&T, right? Like, the way that they look at AT&T and how they perceive it, right? So, but let's talk about this, right? So, pretty much in this first section here, I'm gonna actually scroll down. They talk about how the business segments are doing pretty well. One big deal with AT&T, and I think this is the thing that affects people's opinions on it, is DirecTV, right? And everybody knows DirecTV is a flop, guys. I mean, every time I look at an article that rags on AT&T, they're like, "Oh, I gotta get rid of gotta get rid of DirecTV. It's a flop." You know, it's like no crap, dude. Like, of course it's a flop. They don't, they lose money on it. They're gonna they're gonna basically get rid of DirecTV. Once that happens, they can start concentrating on the things that are gonna give them money, right? Like Time Warner, HBO, right? Like the movies that they're gonna put in theaters when theaters come back and open back up. Or they can just start streaming those movies on HBO, right? Imagine like HBO Max being the place where you would go watch like Wonder Woman 1984 or something. Like, this would put a lot of value in it. It'd be kind of similar to what Disney Plus does for Disney, right? So these are just ideas. Obviously, this isn't stuff that that I've seen or read. This is just kind of from a business standpoint. It's like, it makes sense to me. Their mobility is great. I think they have 41% of the U.S. Telecom market, which is insane. I mean, considering you got Verizon and T-Mobile out there as a competitor. So, I mean, as far as cell phone cell phone service goes, I mean, they're killing it there. They have the new 5G out, so there's that. I imagine they're gonna maybe bundle. I would maybe see about them bundling something up, as far as HBO is concerned. But they have a lot of opportunities here, guys. But let's talk about that cash flow, right? So let's see, it was 8.3%, I think. Yeah, 8.3 billion dollars in free cash flow. So that tells me, like, if you got that much money just to kind of play around with, that's good. And they talk about the loss, like, this is another big issue, is people are just so critical of companies during coronavirus that they're just like, oh, the company's doing bad. because of the way it's being handled. It's like, no, the company's doing bad because companies in general are doing bad. The economy's doing bad because of an artificial entity. It's not like they just made a whole bunch of bad decisions. I mean, they made a bad decision with DirecTV, but it's not like they made a whole bunch of bad decisions over the last year that all of a sudden there's companies just in the dirt because of it. Every company's in the dirt for the most part, except some tech companies because of obvious reasons, right? But think about it like this: it's like you can't really fault a lot of businesses right now because they're doing everything they can to get over the hump, to get through this whole pandemic so that they can continue to do business after, right? And AT&T to me is stable. They've got subscriber base. People need cell phones. People need the entertainment. People are, HBO Max is going to be where they're going to have stuff like Game of Thrones and stuff, right? Like people are dedicated to certain shows and certain, things. And I mean, all they really have to do is announce one big show. One thing in this article that I really like is this right here. They talk about HBO leading the industry. It has 38 primetime and 15 news and documentary Emmy awards, right? This is crazy. Look at how many Emmys, dude. 38 Emmys right here. That's insane. So if you look at that tells me that people love their shows. Their shows get a lot of respect. And I mean, you can't really beat that, That's what people want. They want good entertainment. So this to me is the cash cow, um, you know, in my opinion at least. And as far as dropping, I mean, they've only decreased 5% year over year in the same amount of time, right? So, the here's right here. So their overall revenue increased 3.17%, and the free cash flow increased 9.21% quarter over quarter, right? But for the first 9 months of 2020, they produced 19.77 billion or 19 $0.77 billion in free cash flow compared to 20.88 billion in the same period yesterday, right? So if you think about that, last year they didn't have to worry about the whole pandemic. This year they did have to worry about the pandemic. So what's that tell you, right? Like that tells me that with all the crap that's going on, they're still powering through. They're making it work, right? So just keep that in mind, guys. Yeah, debt is something to worry about, but they're paying their debt down. Like I said, once they can get rid of the DirecTV issue, it shouldn't be a problem, in my opinion. I believe that they're going to kind of shift their business. They just have to find, I want to say a sucker, because technically you'd have to be a sucker to buy DirecTV, and they do have to buy a sucker, in my opinion. So keep that in mind, guys. If you're a dividend investor, you better be buying AT&T. I'm bullish on it. I always will be as long as they have that dividend. Once they start running into trouble with the dividend, then I may second guess it. But as far as compounding and getting more and more money into it with its own dividend, I mean, you really can't beat it. There's not too many stocks out there like this. So it should be in every dividend investor's portfolio. Hands down, there should be no arguments about that. With that being said, guys, that's the video. I know I kind of sped through it. I just want to make sure you guys got everything. If you have any questions or comments, put them down in the box below. Tell me what you guys do. Do you invest in AT&T? Do you guys, yeah, do you have other companies that you would rather put your money in as far as dividends are concerned? Like, what's your guys' take on AT&T? And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.